What if the things you say you want, what if that's not what you really want? In this video, I want to talk about one of the most important lessons that I've learned in my life. And that is this thing that I learned many years ago. I first came across this concept from Tony Robbins, who talked about how our whole life is really being defined by our state. And there's fundamentally three things that are kind of going on. You know, I talk about what if the things you say you want, you don't really want, what you really want is something else. I'll kind of get to what I mean by that. But first I want to kind of illustrate this by saying there's a reason. There is a reason why I'm doing this video while sat on the spin bike. I'm going to stop now, but I'm sat on my spin bike in my house. I'm sat on my spin bike in my house. It's a regular fixture of our house. We have the obligatory television, the obligatory sofa, the obligatory dining room table, which you can't see, the obligatory baby toys that have re-emerged since we've had Zen. We have two children. For those of you that don't know, we've got Sage that's 4, and we've got Zen that's 10 months, coming up to 11 months. And so this spin bike's a really fundamental part of our house because, for those of you that don't know, me and my beautiful wife Sati, we kind of met in the gym, literally. We met at a spinning course. You know, this indoor cycling is often known as spinning. And so indoor cycling or spinning, whatever way you want to call it, it's been quite a... Sometimes I forget how romantic this bike is in terms of it symbolises the meeting and the dawn of our relationship. But the reason why this is in our house, and the reason why, you know, I use this sometimes multiple times a day. I was on it this morning, I was on it this afternoon, I'm on it now, really for illustration. But the reason why I use it sort of 2 or 3 times a day on average, combined with other exercise elements, is because I think we all universally accept the fact that it's kind of scientifically proven, right, that exercise makes you feel good. Like if you're in a bad mood and you go for a walk or a run or you sit on a spin bike, if you get your heart rate up to a certain point, I'm just kind of keeping my eye out because my 4-year-old Sage is upstairs. She's poorly today. And so I'm keeping my ear out to see if she comes out of her room. She may appear from the stairs. I can see her room. Where was I? Oh yeah. It's scientifically proven that exercise makes us feel good. Everybody gets it. Everybody understands it. Everybody can intellectualize it. Not everybody does it. It's common sense. And it's uncommon in practice, but everybody gets it. But that's only one of 3 components, according to the work of Tony Robbins, that makes us feel good. Which brings me to the point of the video, which is that the things that we say we want, what if we don't really want them? What if what we really want is something else? And that thing that we really want is something else is a feeling. I'll illustrate this by a point. Well, let me ask you this. Have you seen the movie Blade Runner? If you've never seen the movie Blade Runner, is that the movie? No, that's not the movie. That's not the movie I'm thinking of relating to this story. The movie I'm thinking of is Total Recall. That's the movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Harrison Ford, similar actors, right, of that 80s superhero genre. Total Recall is the movie. If you don't know the movie, it's about a guy who they plant memories in his brain of experiences he hasn't had to create the feeling, because ultimately that's what he wants. And you see there's this one scene of a couple and they always wanted to go on a cruise. So they sit in this chair and they plant them memory in their mind that they've been on a cruise, and then they come out of the chairs and they talk about how good the cruise was, right? It's freaky. But the point of that analogy and in fact of that movie is that that's a lot like life. Meaning, you know, we romanticize the things that we want. Maybe for you, maybe if you think about the last time you bought yourself something, maybe it was a new pair of shoes or a car, or maybe it was a holiday you went on. Often the idea of that thing is better than the thing in actuality. Like, for example, few weeks ago, we went on holiday to Turkey. Lovely holiday. But I actually felt the emotions and the state and the joy and the excitement was greater when I hit buy on the booking page. That was probably the peak experience, which is fascinating, really, isn't it? So I've spent thousands of pounds to hit a button and feel the chemical release that makes me feel a certain way. Or maybe a simpler example is when you post something on social media and people like it, or they comment positively. We all have human needs, and one of our needs is significance, and one of our needs is contribution, and one of our needs is certainty, and one of our needs is connection. And it may spark one of those needs being met when you post something or someone says something or praises you. But the point being, going back to Robbins' example, because I don't want to take away and make it like this is my example, because it's really from Robbins, is that according to this model, just to kind of put it straight out there, we don't want what we want. What we really want is the feelings that are behind that thing. So we want a holiday because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. We want a car or a new pair of shoes, or, you know, for example, Sati has just come back from the hospital with Sage. Sage is fine, by the way. She's just had a high temperature brought about by, she had her tonsils removed about 18 months ago because she had a seizure, which was horrifying. And so she didn't have the seizures anymore, but now she has high temperatures. So she's been there today. And she's come home and she's not in a great state, Sati, because she's been sat in this hospital, this day centre thing for a few hours, longer than she expected. And now she's gone out for a walk. And the reason she's gone out for a walk is because her belief is that she'll feel better when she gets back. And she will. I know she'll come back better than when she arrived home. But the key thing is that, according to the work of Robbins, that this feelings, that the thing that we think we want, we don't really want. What we want is the feeling. There's effectively three elements to this. The first element is physiology, which illustrates really what I've been speaking about for the first 7 minutes, which is when you move your physical body, it makes you feel different, makes you feel a certain way, makes you feel better in many cases, why people join the gym and go running. And exercise is scientifically proven. So everybody accepts that. The other two, kind of, unless you're already in this kind of personal development space, can be perceived as a little bit more intangible and can be often perceived as a little bit immeasurable and maybe a bit wishy-washy. But actually, I found from experience that without these next two, you never really get a long-standing set of positive emotions over negative emotions. So you'll feel like in the moment, you know, like let's say you exercise, you'll feel good at the end of the exercise, but if you don't do the other two, 3 hours later after you've been to the gym, you might float back into negative emotions. But if you do these two, you're less likely for that to happen. So the second one is focus. Focus. What do I mean by focus? Well, most people are focusing on things that they don't want. Most people are focusing on things that they don't want. That they don't want to happen or have happened and they wish hadn't. Most people are focusing on what they don't want. And what you want to do instead, if that's you, is you want to focus on the things that you do want. And then you want to focus on the things that you're grateful for, that you're proud of. Here's why. Because the brain is like a satellite, it's like a TV system. And when you're focused on negativity and fear and worry and stress, and interestingly, I used to be really good at intellectualizing positivity. Like I talk about how I'm positive, but my energetic being, my frequency was not emitting positivity. Behind the scenes, I was complaining, I was negative, and actually the worst thing was my self-talk. We'll move on to that one in a minute. But the undertone was not positive. The persona was positive, And that's a different video for a different day, which was basically me wanting to perform so that I could gain the significance, validation and approval, mainly of other people, because I wasn't giving it to myself. I felt invalidated of self, so I looked for other people to validate me. It's probably another video about inner child work at some point. But your focus is really key. Most people are on the history channel, but they want to move into the future channel and the present channel. You know, Eckhart Tolle says, you know, we're called human beings, but we act like we're human doings. We're all focused on kind of, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when. Dan Sullivan says, you know, we live in the gap rather than the gain, meaning we live in this mental focus of what we don't have yet. Nothing wrong with goals, but if I can only speak for myself, I probably have spent too much time in goals and not enough time in gratitude. And the problem with that is if you spend too much time in goals and not enough time in gratitude, it's quite funny really, because you'll achieve what you want if you're a high achiever, if you're a person that follows through. But then you won't be satisfied when you get there because you're focused, you're living in the gap, so you're moving straight on to the next thing. Kind of like the squirrel in the Ice Age movie. Who gets all the nuts in the end, and then there's the big nut, and he's like, ah, and he drops them all. Goes for that one, right? So focus is really important, and it's really amazing. You know, Wayne Dyer once said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. One person, rain is a miserable day. To another, it's a solution to a famine, right? I remember silly story based on that profound message I've just said, but I'm going to tell it. I worked in Greece in a bar in my younger years when I was 20, and it never rained because it was Greece, right? And then one evening I was in the club after work, and it rained, and everybody that was a tourist stayed in the club and just ignored the rain. Everybody that was a worker, me and all the others that were working in bars, ran out in the street, stripped off and got in our pants and danced. You had to be there. You had to be there. Good memories. So focus is really important. Spend more time in gratitude. You know, most people they've got the first one. I get it. Exercise, move, have a spin bike in my house, because it's important that you recognize physiology isn't just in the morning, right? I used to have this thing where I thought I could just do physiology in the morning and that would be me in state for the day. And I realized actually it needs to be throughout the day, which is why although this is an illustration, before doing this video, I was on the bike doing cardio for 20 minutes because I knew that Sati was coming home and I wanted to be in a great state to welcome her and Sage, right? Anyway, so it's not a one-time thing, it's got to be ongoing. Second is focus. For me, the best thing that I've ever found in this area that's helped me is gratitude, like physically writing down what I'm grateful for. Also writing down what you're proud about. That will make you feel really good because that locks in your accomplishments. Like you're integrating the wins, as Brendan Burchard says. When you integrate the wins, the next time you win, you'll get the self-esteem shot that you rightly deserve for your achievement. Because if you don't integrate the win and go, I'm really proud of that, then you'll maybe do the next thing, but you'll keep being in this loop and trap of needing other people to validate you instead of you validating yourself. And then the third and final piece is language. And this is both external language and internal language. So external language, most people wouldn't consciously speak negatively. Most people would say they would consciously speak positive. But what I've found is often the kind of the ugly sister of language is what you say to yourself subconsciously. In your sleep, you know, I listen to sleep hypnosis when I go to bed because there is definitely a part of me that probably never go away that is negative, like that complains, that is in fear, that's in uncertainty, that worries about stuff. I can hear Sage whimpering, so I'm going to cut the video short in a second. But yeah, focusing on language is really important. because the way you speak to yourself is really important. So hypnosis, I recommend. Affirmations are really powerful, especially doing those affirmations while you exercise. That's really important as well. And it's really about making sure that you do those three things combined and not just one. My recommendation as I wrap this up is you score yourself, maybe score yourself. You know, last 90 days, how have you done in physiology? How have you done in focus? And how have you done in language? And then to keep it really easy and simple, say, you know, what's one thing that you could do over the next 7 days? What's a new habit that you could do for physiology, for focus, for language that would make you incrementally better? Because life, all life really is about incremental improvement. We're only ever competing with ourselves, right? Michael Jordan said, you know, he's only competing with the person he was last year in his sport. You know, that's what Michael Jordan used to say, right? He said, you know, I'm only trying to be better than I was last season. You're only trying to be better than you were last season. Your last season is maybe last week or last month or yesterday, whenever it is. But you're only ever trying to be better than last season. So don't overcomplicate this. Keep it simple, right? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Slightly different to what we've been doing, but I think this is really powerful. I think it's really important. Stay, if you're firing on really, really good levels for physiology, for focus, for language, watch your life change. Adding in, by the way, in the focus one, which I forgot, it's just regular personal development, like doing daily personal development, like being really conscious of what you're focusing on, less social media, not checking your phone first thing in the morning or last thing at night, not checking your emails just when they come in, not being so reactive, because messages, emails, notifications, all they are other people's agenda, other people trying to grab hold of your attention. So really be laser focused on what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're paying attention to. I literally have, you know, in our house, we have personal development feeding through the day. If it's not personal development, we've got good music on. If it's not good music, we've got like brainwaves on, spa music, things that just stimulate us to be in the right energy, in the right state. So use these resources like YouTube and Spotify. Use the assets, the technology. Don't let it use you. Yeah, really, really important. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. I have. I'm not going to check on the kids. Peace out. See you soon.